Man, everybody has a God-sized hole in their heart. And it's a shame that some people spend their whole lives looking for that thing that's going to fill them. I just caught up with my dad and my brother, and they just are going through the motions. And my dad's like, yeah, I think I want a second house, a lake house, or maybe we want to put a pool in our backyard, or I don't know, but we really need to be saving more for retirement. And I gotta my brother's still in college, so he's gonna have to pay for that, and he's not getting much help from my mom financially. She's not in a great situation, but it's just that vacation house and that pool in the backyard and that new car and that vacation and that job title and that dollar sign amount, none of it is going to fill the God-sized gaping hole that we all have in our souls. Why? Because Ecclesiastes 3:11 says every man has eternity on his heart, meaning deep down inside, the deepest part of our being, our soul knows that anything we put our faith in that's temporary is fading away. We know this deep down, but our society and our culture programs us and tells us, no, you need something on this earth can make you happy. That Rolex, that next thing, that next paycheck is going to make you happy. But deep down, guys, we know that it's not true. But most people are just so, focused on meeting their immediate needs and meeting rent and getting the bills paid and practices and kids and work and all these things that just constantly, and then scrolling in our free time, Netflix, all these things that just cloud our judgment and our vision. And we're not able to just be still for 1 second and just sit with our own thoughts and think, to what end am I doing all this? Where is this road I'm on leading me? Most people are on the wide road. The wide road is the one that says you need something new. The wide road is the one that works their way up the corporate ladder only to find on their deathbed that they wasted their entire life over a job and a boss who doesn't care about them and will replace them. And yet they neglected the relationships with their families, the ones who will be at their funeral. And people spend their entire life, specifically in the West, chasing these things. I went to Puerto Rico a few months back, and they have so much less than us. I landed in San Juan, but I drove 3 hours across the opposite end of the island to get where I was staying. And I drove through towns, and I went to this hidden beach spot, and there were these kids riding a four-wheeler up and down the street, and I said, hey, can I ride that? And they let me ride their four-wheeler. And so I just am taking this four-wheeler, and I'm riding around like the local parts of Puerto Rico of people who have been there for generations, and there's just old people sitting on the porch just at peace. And they're with their families, and they're laughing, and they share meals together, and they have a strong community, and they have a strong faith. And they're happier. They're more content, they're more fulfilled than people in the West and in the US who have so much more than everyone else in the world and everyone who's ever lived in all of history. And we're still not fulfilled. Why? Because it's like junk food. It's like soda. It's designed to make you want more once you've gotten it. It's designed to dehydrate you. But Jesus says, I am the living water and I am the bread of life. Only He can fill us. When He meets the woman at the well and He tells her about her entire past, and He says, get me a drink of water. And He says, if only you knew that the water I'm offering will spring up inside of you for eternity, and it will fulfill our soul. How is your soul? Is your soul thirsty? Yes. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that your soul is thirsty. And that whatever you're chasing and that you think is going to satisfy it won't. I'm here to tell you, I chased so many things that were meaningless. Girls, drugs, alcohol, living in a way that to the outsider would look so much fun. In high school, I had the life that every kid wanted. I had absolute freedom. I had a dad who knew all the bad stuff we were doing in the basement. He didn't care. He was living his own life. We got to do the things. We got the girls. We got the drugs. We had the popularity. And that life leads to destruction. The wide road, the life that everyone wants, the life of glamour and beauty and pride and ego and money. That's the wide gate. That's what everyone's chasing. That's the path everyone's on. But the ironic part about the wide and the narrow gate is that when you go down the wide gate, it just leads more narrow into death. Ultimately, it just leads to death, emptiness, anxiety, disease, unfulfillment. But when you enter in the narrow gate, where you don't have room to bring any suitcases and baggage from your old life, what's amazing is you open up into a world of love and joy and kindness and goodness and fulfillment and prosperity. Not even worldly blessings, which a lot of times when you're living in God's will and you're serving other people, you will be blessed on earth, because a good name is to be treasured above silver and riches, right? But that's not why we're in it. You don't follow Jesus because of blessings or for something in exchange. He's already given us everything we need. In fact, he tells us that you will probably suffer, and there's a lot to sacrifice for following Jesus. But it's the only thing worthy and worthwhile to give your devotion and your attention to. Everything else is vain and meaningless. So what have you been chasing? I just want you to ask yourself, what have I been chasing and just longing for inside that I think is going to fulfill me? Ask yourself that. Really reflect and just turn off your phone for 10 minutes and write down, what have I been chasing? What is this road I'm on going to lead me to? Am I burnt out? Am I working a job that's meaningless and that I don't care about? Do I have good relationships with the people in my life who are going to be at my funeral? I'm here to tell you that Jesus will fill the gap, the gaping hole in your heart. He's the one that you are needing and looking for. And I get it. You're like, really, dude? Jesus? Yes. Trust me, I know it seems weird and people have twisted religion and the church even is corrupt, and you hear all these stories. But that is the human side of religion. Religion is anything that humans do to try to please God. The good news about Jesus is that it's a direct relationship where you don't have to earn it. It is a gift. We've all fallen short. We all have eternity written on our hearts. What you are looking for is Jesus, and I promise that the stories that I've seen of people who were addicted to drugs and alcohol and lived in the worst life, like Paul, who was a Pharisee, and that might be historically inaccurate, but he was an educated, high status individual who was respected and his word held power, and he was ordering Christians to be murdered. God appeared to him and radically turned his life around. The people who were living in drugs and sin and fornication and lust, all these things, the life change that I have personally seen is insane, and it cannot be explained by human conditions or words. It just can't be explained. So I would, very, very first step, if you feel like you are just, your soul's longing for more and you're questioning, is this all that life has to offer? I would advise, download the Bible app, and in fact, get a real Bible in your hands. But just see how much the Word of God quenches your soul. I promise you, whenever I'm feeling anxious, I used to have bad anxiety. I would be laying in bed, the first thing I would wake up and my heart would just start pounding. Or before I'm going to bed, my heart is pounding. Why? Because I had demons and shame and guilt chasing me down. I felt like I couldn't sit still because the moment I sat still, the demons were catching up with me, haunting me. But the moment I opened God's Word and I just started reading about Jesus, radical transformation. From the inside out, my heart was changed and transformed. And that's just my own personal story. There's stories all around like this. And so that's the thing, like, you know, you can argue the historical efficacy of the Bible, which it's been challenged more than any other book on the planet, and it has held up logically, philosophically. It has held up. So it can be educationally scrutinized, and scholars have tried to disprove the Bible. No one has been able to. But more than that, just look at the personal testimonies and experiences of people who have really encountered God. I mean, it's insane. Like, I never thought I'd be saying this, but I have to say it. I'm literally compelled to say this because so many people need to hear that nothing can fulfill you like a relationship with Jesus, a one-on-one personal relationship with a man who was fully God and fully man, who came here, sacrificed himself for you, died the most brutal death that we deserve, that I deserve. I was a scumbag. I deserved to be mocked and beaten and crucified. Someone else paid that price for me. And, you know, what I would just challenge you to do is form your own opinion. Read the Gospels. These are Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. The first 4 books of the New Testament are historical eyewitness documentations of Jesus' life and his teachings. Before you scoff and say, religion's not for me, I've tried this and that, I used to sit in the pews, I grew up a Catholic, or I grew up a Baptist, or blah, 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 blah. Or I grew up, you know, I'm atheist, I don't believe in God, or whatever it is, whatever you've heard and you have been subconsciously programmed about the Bible and about Jesus and about Christians, stop for one moment and just read it and form your own opinion. I challenge you to do that. And honestly, it's a hard challenge. That is the narrow road nowadays, is having your own opinion. Most people just regurgitate what they've been fed by the media and by social media and by their favorite influencer. But keep in mind, these people want power. These people want money. These people want people divided. They don't have your best interest at heart. So just try open-mindedly to read the Bible and form your own opinion on it. That's all I ask you to do. And most people won't. Most people are just, oh, the Bible? No, gross. Christians are racist and homophobic and sexist. No, I'm not reading it. And, you know, it's a shame because they'll spend the rest of their lives searching for that one thing that's going to fulfill them. And one day, it is written. I can't guarantee this, and it's hard to believe, I admit. Even as a Christian, even as a fairly mature Christian, it's hard to believe that Revelation is real and that Jesus is coming back and everyone will be judged. You know? There's no guarantee that that's true. I believe it. I think it's a safe bet, just based on all the experiences I've had and how the Bible just is so logically and philosophically sound, and how all the prophecy in the Old Testament points to Jesus, and the manuscript evidence. There's a lot of evidence. You know, I think if people had disproved the Bible, I think by now someone on TikTok would have went viral and found the big plot hole and the big loophole. And they're like, oh, Christianity's dead. And I would be like, okay, well, maybe I'm wrong about all this. But it is a safe bet. It is the safest bet to build your life on the firm foundation of Jesus Christ. There's nothing higher. There's nothing greater. I'm telling you. I'm compelled to tell you. So, like I said, make your own opinion about it. That's all I ask you to do. And what I will tell you is your life will start to radically change. People will see you and be like, what happened to you? You are unrecognizable. The guy I knew you used to be drunk and rowdy and crazy and get in fights and hook up with girls, one night stands, I used to have these addictions, or I used to live for the world and put my whole identity in my job or my sport. And people are going to see you the next time and be like, what happened? It's an evident change, and it's insane, and it can't be explained by human terms. That's my challenge. read the Bible for yourself. Turn off all distractions, open the Bible, and take it slow. It can be intimidating, I acknowledge that. Especially when you don't know what's going on and it's written in different styles and you're like, what is going on? But just understand that Matthew, Mark, Luke, John are the Gospels. They're historical accounts of Jesus' life and his teachings. So when you open the book to Matthew, you're going to see the genealogy of Jesus, which is interesting. And then you're going to read an account of his life, what he taught. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is insane. If everyone did this, the world would be such a better place. And it's true. You know? People fail to realize that the entire moral philosophy and what has caused the Western society to prosper, Christianity is interwoven in all of that. These are the values that the West was built on. We built the greatest society that's ever lived based on Christian morals and values. And what happens when these crazy far left ideologies throw out religion and throw out the baby with the bathwater on morality? Society starts to crumble, and you see that. People are divided, people are empty, people are depressed, there's violence. There's so many societal ailments that could be cured if we brought Jesus and God back into society. Humans need to serve something. You are worshiping something, you are serving something. But the first commandment says, you will have no other gods than me. God's not a tyrant for that, but he knows that anything we serve on this world will fall short. Money will not fulfill you. The vacation, the job title will not fulfill you. It's all temporary. It's like building your house on quicksand or on sand. When the storm comes, which it inevitably will, that diagnosis, that financial hardship, that relationship falling apart, when the storm comes, your life will crumble if you are not built on the firm foundation that is Jesus Christ, the author and the creator of the universe. He knows what's best for us. Why? Because he made us. The Bible is literally the owner's manual of humanity. If you have a car and it starts breaking down, what do? You take it to the one who made it. Take it to the manufacturer. If your body's falling apart, if you're sick, if you're broken, if you're anxious, if you're depressed, go to the one who made you. And you will be amazed. So amazed. And don't get me wrong, humans are not perfect. I'm not preaching this from a position of perfection. I'm not perfect. I'm broken. I'm fallen. But when you serve Jesus, who is perfect, and you strive to be more and more like him every day, that's when you will see radical transformation, because you're setting your example and who you're idolizing at the pinnacle of perfection. Everything else will fall short. You can do this. You got this. You have so much more to live for. You don't even know who you can be in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. Your life can be unrecognizable. You can have radical transformation. You can have fulfillment. You can have meaning. You can have purpose. You can have community. All these things are found in God and in God's people. Love.